So we'll see something from labor law. Okay, unit 4. In unit 4, we have two legislations, ESI and ECA, Employees Compensation Act. We have discussed few provisions from both of these legislations, so we'll try to complete this part today. Okay, few things we have already discussed, like about the legislation, how compensation can be claimed, all those provisions we already saw. So it is coming from unit 4, where we got two legislations. First one is Employees Compensation Act. So this concept of providing compensation to employees is a form of social security, that we want to provide some security to the employees, that in case something goes wrong, also employers are there to provide compensation. Okay, so this concept of social security, first part we have is concept and importance, influence of ILO, and then constitutional mandate. Under Constitution of India, do we have any obligation like that, where it tries to say that we want to provide social justice or social security should be provided? So do we have any provisions like that under Constitution of India or not? So social security is needed in order to protect against certain risks and social needs. So definitely when someone is doing a certain type of job there, it involves some amount of risk, and also there is need for the society that sort of security has been provided for their benefit, like benefit of the employees, benefit of their dependents, plus overall for society's development. It should be done so that they are not worried about those risks or those possibilities, but rather they can focus on their work. Social security system guarantee income security, health protection, and thereby contributing in prevention and reduction of poverty, inequality, and the promotion of social inclusion and human dignity. So it serves a lot of different purposes. It may be in the event of illness, because of illness a person is not able to join his job, unemployment, employment injury, maternity, family responsibility, invalidity, loss of family. There are a lot of different scenarios wherein we would need this concept of social security, and because it involves so many different things, so it is not just one legislation which can provide for it. We have so many different legislations being introduced only in order to provide social security. If we look at ILO's definition, International Labour Organization's definition on social security, it basically says that social security is security that society is furnishing through appropriate organization. Like in this case, we would see that under a certain legislation, appropriate government would be given authority, or some special body or organization itself would be set up, that they are having the responsibility of taking the measures and providing the social security related schemes or benefits to employees. The risks are essentially of different types, which means cannot effectively provide own ability or foresight alone, and even in private combination with his fellows. So it is not possible that they are taking care of those risks themselves. So it's very important that the employer is also contributing there. It is basically a measure of ensuring social justice. Under Constitution also we see this provision, right? In preamble itself, it talks about providing justice of 3 different types: economic, social, political. So there also we have this thing that state is having the obligation to provide social justice to its people. And similarly, we have multiple legislations as well to talk about the same. And in a welfare state like India, where main aim is to give maximum happiness to maximum people, whenever needed support would be given, In such cases, providing social security becomes very important when the occupation itself involves some health hazards, and also it for the employee it might not be possible to deal with those situations himself. So social security, this concept may change with changing times. Lot of new things may also be included. Lot of new provisions or benefits may also be inserted depending on the situation. The purpose, for example, this concept of maternity benefit act, that itself was there, but then these provisions were changed, like how many, like after that some changes were made, right? The 2 years of child care leave, those concepts were initially not there, but then it was realized that no, we need this provision also, we need that also. So those will based on social and economic conditions. Accordingly, changes can be made in the existing legislations also. So its main aim is to protect people whenever there is a risk. The society is there, or the employer is there to provide that security that we are there in case something goes wrong. It may be needed in various cases like sickness, old age, invalidity, maternity, death, unemployment, and a lot of cases where might be the employee or his dependents need some kind of a security. And how these securities are provided, they will be provided based on the legislation. And it's not just one legislation that we are having, we have multiple legislations also to talk about different provisions of social security. It may provide for cash payment to affected persons to party compensate for the loss of the income. So there may be provisions given that some benefits you would get, or might be a person would be given some amount of compensation. Monetary compensation, which has already been fixed under the legislation. It is essential for the protection and stability of labor force so that they are not worried about their insecurities or the probabilities, but rather they can do their work properly. Okay, so this is like what social security is and why is it important. It's very important because of all these reasons, that sometimes employees may not be able to foresee those situations or prepare themselves for such a situation. So it's very important that some sort of security they are getting from the employer itself or from the government side. For social security, it may involve two things: so social insurance or social assistance. So when we say social insurance, under it, workers and employees would make periodical contributions. They would pay some amount of money, like what happens in ESI, right? The parties would pay some amount of money, and it is like an insurance from where they would get benefit if there is any situation where the person is hospitalized, his dependents are hospitalized or something happens. So that is social insurance. Both employer and employee would contribute some amount, and from that they would be getting the insurance. But when we say social assistance, it is not like insurance where they are contributing and getting some benefits, but cost of benefit provided is financed fully by the government without any contribution from workers or employers. So they would be given different things like medical care, sickness benefit, old age benefit, employment injury benefit, and all those provisions. Some assistance might be given by the government. So we can provide it in different ways. For different matters, we can have different legislations as well. And if we talk about Constitution of India, first of all, India is a welfare state. It tries to provide, it seeks for welfare of the people. So in a welfare state, it becomes very important that the government is spending some money for welfare of the people in order to provide them this sort of securities also whenever needed. Plus, in preamble itself, we get the concept of social justice, providing for social justice through various ways or various means. And when something is mentioned in preamble, it's not just only preamble, it will be mentioned, but inside constitution also, somewhere or the other, we will get detailed provision. So where are we getting detailed provisions relating to social security? It is under part 4 of the constitution. Okay, part 4 of the constitution, DPSP, which imposes a responsibility on state towards weaker section of the society. Otherwise, constitution always talks about equality, but then provisions are being made that whenever needed, if weaker section needs some help, some sort of assistance, that should be provided by the state. Social security is not included under fundamental rights, but rather it is given in DPSP only. So it's not a fundamental right as such that we can claim, but then if we have a legislation under that, it becomes a statutory right, which we can definitely claim before court as well. So as of now, it is included in part 4 only, which is DPSP. State is given direction that you should try to provide social security assistance to weaker sections whenever needed, but it is yet to be included as a fundamental right, which will be like a guaranteed right to the people. So under Article 41 of Constitution, it requires state should, within the limits of its economic capacity, make effective provisions to secure right to work, to education, public assistance in certain cases of unemployment, old age, sickness, disablement, etc. For DPSPs, it's always about how much of resources the state is having, because providing all these different rights, fulfilling all these obligations, it may involve a lot of resources. So how much resources state is having, based on that, they should decide or plan out their social security measures. Accordingly, it will be provided. Like if we see, there is a concept, right? MGNREGA, there is this scheme, right? Have you seen that? Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Scheme. Yeah, MGNREGA. So under MGNREGA also some assistance has been given, but then it is decided within limits of economic capacity only, right? They are not guaranteeing 365 days work, but only 100 days of work. That means out of 365 days, government had resources to provide work only for 100 days. So accordingly, they are providing. Something is better than nothing. So within their economic limits, whatever best they can do, they would provide that. For some education purpose, work-related purpose, whatever reason it is, some assistance might be given. Like for old age also, some pension scheme is there. For unemployment also, government may provide some like small amount of loans in lesser interest, with lesser interest rates for unemployed people to start some business or stuff like that. Okay, those kind of provisions are also there for different states. So these would be again measures taken by the state under their obligation under Article 41. Similarly, under Article 42 also, state should make provisions for securing just and human condition at work and for maternity relief. That whatever good working condition must be maintained in the work. For that, again, we have legislations like Factories Act, where all the guidelines are being given. For maternity benefit also, Maternity Benefit Act is already there. So like that, these are the guidelines or directions that were given to government, and they have accordingly tried implementing legislations. Under Article 47, it requires that the state should raise the level of nutrition and standard of living for its people and improve public health as among its primary duties. Like take for example this COVID vaccination, we can say that that was also something relating to public health, because it's an obligation of the government. So only when these vaccines were not available freely for all of the people, it was a concern. It was a bit of concern, right? So later on, government made it free that, okay, fine, for this age group, we are making it free. For this age group, we are making it free. And finally, when number of people, like demand decreased, then they said that, okay, it's free for everyone. So those are measures taken to improve public health for the benefit of public at large. Then state can also take some steps to increase, to raise the level of nutrition, standard of living, etc. If there are some food items which are below the standard, those might be banned, like what happened with Maggie. Then at some stages, if something is needed, like banning of alcohol during first wave of COVID, those are all measures or steps taken by the state because it is having that duty under Article 47 of Constitution. So under all these articles plus preamble, okay, this is part 4. Plus preamble also talks about it. Social security legislation. Preamble to the Constitution also talks about. So these provisions are being given under preamble, under part 4, and all these articles that fall under part 4 only. And as a result, in order to give effect to all these provisions, we have legislations like Employees Compensation Act, ESI Act, Maternity Benefit, Payment of Gratuity, Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act. We have legislations like Payment of Bonus Act, Equal Pay for Equal Work. All these provisions we have under these obligations. So this is constitutional mandate. Okay, constitutional mandate.